Hi, Geek Frogs. Hi, my name is Anna.
And I'm Peyton.
And today, what are we doing today?
Today, we are back with the last episode for Island Week. And we will be doing a little bit of a comparison video.
We got requested for Island reactions to compare the very first performance of their Signal song Into the Island versus the very last performance of it, like at the finals. So that's what we're gonna do today.
And we're pretty sure that this is the first version of it, so if it's not, we're sorry. But yeah, instead of like our normal videos where it's video comments, we're just going to watch the first version, watch the final version, and then do comparison comments after both videos. So
let's go. Oh,
Galaxy.
I don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything.
Is there no sound yet? This is like, oh.
Okay.
It's like, why is it so silent? Oh, it's like acoustic.
I got pushed. 떨려왔어. 너무도 찾아 헤맨 꿈의 문 앞에 내 안에.
How are they gonna split it up?
I don't know. So it says first test. So is this like the first stage, I'm guessing, they ever did?
Ah.
그저 참고 견딘 시간의 의미를 이제야 널 만나고서야 그 의미를 깨달아.
How are they doing this? Ah.
Let's just try. It's our chance 수없이 새겨진 지난 발자국이.
Oh, his voice got a lot better. Sorry. I wonder how they decided who got which parts.
Me too.
Because I'm seeing Nikki have a lot of parts based on the names in the corner.
That's cool in the center. There's a Nicholas too?
Huh? Interesting. This Ego Noob person is having a lot of parts too.
I've heard of his name.
Oh, red versus blue. Oh.
That was a really cool way to get
Oh.
It's coming together?
Oh.
At the very end, is it gonna be one stage?
Oh.
Oh, is it moving while they're dancing?
I can't tell.
I think it is. That takes a lot of core strength for them to stay standing and dancing while it's moving.
Oh.
Even if it's moving slowly. That was a little off. It's gonna go up in the back, yeah. If I had to guess, I would say there was probably some sort of like evaluation competition for
like
who's the
produce.
center. Yeah.
Who's the one in the middle at the top? I can't see. Not that I would recognize them.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But I'm pretty sure. I think it's Nikki.
Oh yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Ego Noob person is like number 2.
2,
He has
and
a
then
lot of parts too.
Tongwon is number 3. Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Are they gonna have the same parts for the final version?
No, because some of the people aren't.
Interesting.
I got pushed 더 밀려왔어 너무도 찾아 헤매
22-person version.
내 안에
Huh?
At the top, do you see at the top? This is the 22-person version.
Oh,
So is this everyone?
I don't know. I mean, it's gonna include the people who are eliminated.
But not everyone that's in it was in the original version. Wow, I did not expect to see him.
Wow, wait, I'm so confused.
I was like, who am I looking at?
Wait, I'm really confused.
Sorry, that just really threw me off.
But yeah, these are different people singing it. I don't recognize any of these names.
I don't either. I'm confused.
Oh, I
Okay.
remember. Okay, there we are.
At least now I expect to see them.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just like, I'm just really taken aback.
Their dance precision has improved. a
How
lot.
many people did Island start with? So I was gonna say, are these all the people who are eliminated?
Hello, Ratman.
Oh, and those are the people remaining.
Maybe?
How many people did Island start with? Wait, but then not all the people who were in Island were in the first one we watched then.
Confused.
I'm so confused. Wait.
지금 내 옆에 함께 달리고 있어 Yeah, I'm scared 두렵긴 하지만 힘차게 뛰어가 Let's just try It's our chance 수없이
It's interesting to see the same choreography with different staging though, because that was like on completely different
I was
platforms
gonna say,
last
how
time.
are they gonna give the similar effect when they don't have like all the stages?
It wasn't off that time.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Well, all the fans watching.
But still, like every time they show BTS,
I
I'm just
know.
like,
I'm just like, right, they're there.
their lines were off.
But this group sing moment is much better.
Yeah. You can tell that they've all performed a lot more since the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so before we start our comments, we did look up how Island worked after we watched it. And so we know why the members in the first version were in the first version, and we know why they all came back for the last version, and we know about the island, ground, eliminated, that sort of thing. So we
Sorry.
got it now.
Because going into this, I was like, oh yeah, it's basically like Produce 101, but like Big Hit Mnet collaboration,
Yeah.
right? No.
No. Okay, but my comments are more general since we're trying to compare like how they changed from the first to the last. But my first comment, and I said this in episode 1, so I won't expand on it too much, but just in case you didn't see, you can really tell by the final version that they have so much more performance experience because like we said in episode 1, you just progress and improve so much quicker when you're actually performing, because while most trainees are doing their monthly evaluations and performing for their trainers pretty often, they're not on stage with makeup, mics, lights, costumes, everything. And that's just fundamentally different. And you just have to improve so much quicker when you're doing that. But you could just tell that by the final version, like their endurance was better. And I'll talk a little bit about that for their dancing in another comment. Their facials were so much better, like so much better. They looked more confident, they looked more comfortable, the way they were projecting emotions was better. And then kind of related to that, and I've said it before on the channel, that when you're dancing with the same group of people over and over again, you kind of develop a synergy and an awareness of each other, and that's why groups, when they perform together for a long time, look so much more cohesive, and even just adding or taking one person away can change that. But when I'm thinking about this, even though they had different groupings, they were still living together and practicing together and had performed with most of each other, if not every other member on the show. And so I'm thinking about it more like a dance company where you'll be cast into different pieces, but everyone's part of the same company rather than one group. And you could see that synergy in the final version as well. Like, it wasn't as cohesive as a group that had been together for years and years and years with the same 5 or 6 people, but you could see like, oh, they have an awareness of each other that they didn't really have in the first one because they were all pretty new to each other. It just comes out and making things look cleaner, looking more matched. Like when they do the fly and their arms all go like that, their arms matched better, like the lines were cleaner, that sort of thing. And then just overall their performance dynamics were better. Like in the first one, everything kind of was happening at the same speed, and so it all kind of just blended together. Like even moments that were supposed to be accented or moments that were supposed to be sustained, they were being given the same energy. Whereas in the final version, if something was fast, like if they were supposed to go from here to here, it happened quickly. It wasn't just like a... And it just looked better. Like it makes things look cleaner, crisper, it draws your eye more, it makes you more interested in watching because it keeps your attention since not everything's happening at the same speed. So everything stands out on its own, even when it's all part of the same dance. And then coming back to the endurance thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, since they had more performance experience, their endurance had also gotten better. And in the first one, by the end of the dance, you could tell like they were starting to get tired. I feel like, at least for dancing, performing on stage takes more out of you than just like performing in a practice studio. You could tell that by the end of the first performance, they were kind of like, I'm getting tired, like I don't have the energy to put into the movements, and they hadn't learned how to save energy for the end of the dance. So they were kind of running on low. But by the last version, their endurance and learning how to save some of that energy for the second half of the dance was so much better. My only comment where I think I'm going to favor the first version over the second version is just that staging-wise, I do think the first one, they had a harder challenge because dancing on moving platforms that are going together, that are moving up, that are moving down, they are going back and forth between the stages, is harder than dancing in just one stage, even if you're dancing with 22 people in the final version, which is a challenge in and of itself. But overall, the first staging was definitely a bigger challenge. And it's made even a bigger challenge because they're not used to dancing together yet. So kudos to the people in that one. But yeah, I think overall you could just tell how much they had grown because while I don't know a lot about any specific trainee, we have seen several of them a few times in our other episodes and started recognizing them. And I'll just give an example. So like Nikki, we recognize Nikki. And in the first version, he was the center and like he definitely stood out when it was his part, but it was not to the extent that he'd stood out in other stages that we'd seen. But by the final version, it was like, oh, okay, I can see like facials have gotten better, confidence has gotten better, and like the members, every single person in the 22-person version, when it was their turn, pulled attention to themselves, and they didn't really do that in the first version. So that's all I have to say. Anna's turn.
So clearly their vocals have improved a lot. My biggest comment is about the change in group singing, and I kind of mentioned it in the final version. I was just saying that their group singing has gotten a lot better, but to explain that, I've said before on our channel that there's a very big difference between solo singing and group singing. Because solo singing, if you have a unique voice, that's great because like you can differentiate yourself from other solo artists, but for group singing, you have to learn how to blend with other people. Like you should be able to tell that there are multiple voices singing, but you don't want one person's voice to stick out over other people's, or else it ruins the like group sound effect. And there are some moments in songs where like, oh, you want to hear individual distinct voices, but this song is not one of those. Like, you can tell from the general vibe of the song that you shouldn't be hearing, like, these voices sticking out. It should just feel like a unit. In the first version of Into the Island, like, for dancing, how it's difficult because they've basically just met each other, it's going to be difficult to do that for vocals as well, especially if they haven't been trained in group singing yet. And I'm assuming that most of them haven't been trained in group singing. I feel like that's not something that happens a lot with K-pop groups. Like, training for debut, it's usually something that they learn how to do after they debuted for a specific song when that part calls for it. I promise that there's a positive end to this comment, by the way. I'm like highlighting all of the bad things in the first one to show how they've improved in the final version, okay? This isn't like a hate comment. Because another thing that wasn't great in the group sing sections for the first version of Into the Island is their diction was just all over the place. I always talk about diction, but it's especially important for it to match in group singing sections to all be together, especially for like beginning and ending consonants of a syllable. You go through and discuss every single consonant, like, okay, we're going to elide this one, or we're going to especially emphasize like the S sound or the T sound on this one, on this exact beat. But I'm assuming that didn't happen because like there's one specific word that comes to mind, 약속해, like promise. The Y sound, they all come in at several different moments, especially because when you say ya, there's kind of an E sound to it, so it's iya. So there were people going like 약속해, there were people going 약속해, so it sounds a little messy. And then the S sound for the 약속해 too. S is notoriously one of the worst consonants in singing because the S sound is really piercing because there's a lot of air into it. So if you don't match up, it can sound like so that all being said, it's very much improved in the final version. In the final version, like when they do have the group singing, which is just like the ending chorus, it's much better in terms of like the diction and also tone quality. So much better. Oh my gosh. Also just like individual voices as well. Everyone's tones have smoothed out a lot. There's like a voice that's ear-catching, but then there's also voices that can be like piercing, and you don't want it to be piercing because that's usually like the feeling that people get when people sing too nasally. It's like piercing and it's not as nice to hear, but all of their voices have smoothed out a lot, which is really good, and it's like easier on the ear, which is like great. Also, because their voices have smoothed out, it also makes it easier for them to blend together when they're singing in those group sing moments, and also just for like the balance of the song as a whole. Even in their solo moments, they still have their distinct voices, but they like transition between the different solo parts a lot better because of that. Yeah. I really hope my comments didn't come across as like negative, because they weren't. I'm just like highlighting the improvement, you know? So Peyton, with me being done with my very long comments, would you like to TLDR us?
Sure. Okay, so with that being said, TLDR, Island Week is now officially over. Good. Done. And it was pretty interesting to see the different tests that we watched and the concept unit chemi test, and then to compare for this video specifically how they had grown from the first version of Into the Island to the final version of Into the Island. And as you could probably tell from our comments, we saw a lot of growth, which is not really surprising given the nature of the show and how much they were getting to perform, but it was still nice to see. And so yeah, we're concluding with Island. Like we said in our first episode, after this, we're not going to be taking any more Island requests just because ENHYPEN is debuting at the end of the month. It's already on our calendar, and it's time to move from the survival show to focusing on the group.
But that being said, thank you for joining us for this Island Week. We hope you enjoyed all the reactions that we did and are excited for ENHYPEN's debut at the end of this month. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video and all that, then please leave a like, comment, subscribe,
Ding!
turn on your notification bell, and bye!